Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Lojak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show that we do every week where we talk with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. He answers all of our questions about the notable sharp action, the notable public action, and specific games that are of particular note and interest to sports bettors every week in football. Brent, thanks for being back with us. It's college football week 4. Thanks for being back with us.
Good to be with you, Peter.
All right, Brent. Last week, the Sharps went 5-5 in the picks that you told us that they were on. They're 12-12 overall on the year. I'm a little bit concerned about the Sharps. Are the Sharps going to be okay? Are they doing all right? What's up with the Sharps?
Yeah, no, the Sharps, long term, the Sharps are always going to win. And again, you do have to set realistic expectations as well. I mean, if someone says to you, I'm going to win six games and lose 4, a lot of people will say, well, that's okay. Right. But I mean, you apply that over a lot of games over the course of an entire year. That's suddenly a lot of money.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you have to have a realistic expectation of what's feasible long term and what's not.
Right.
I mean, you yourself. I mean, I'm sure you know firsthand what it takes to win, and it's certainly not easy. I mean, no one's out there hitting 75% over the course of the long term. It's all about the old eggs and omelets thing. You got to break some eggs to make some omelets.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope the Sharps are okay. According to Brent, they're 12-12 so far in their notable action as of Friday that Brent has told us about, although, of course, a lot of sharp action does come in between our show and kickoff and all these games. The first game I want to ask about, Brent, Wisconsin and Michigan State. Now, I wanted to ask you about this before the recent line movement that I saw. This, obviously, I would assume that the public is all over Michigan State because of how awesome they looked against Notre Dame last week. The line was already creeping down, though, to about 4.5 or 5. And now, right before this call, there was a big move market-wide, another move down to 3.5. So, obviously, something's coming in on Wisconsin. That has to be sharp action, right, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're sitting at 4. There are some 4s on the board. There's some 3.5s on the board. It's interesting, this one, in that I do have sharp action on the game, and I actually have sharp action on both sides, and basically at the same number, which is 4. I did get sharp action on Michigan State minus 4, and I got sharp action the other way on the +4. Now, the money that came on the plus was someone who perhaps liked the game a little more and bet it again, whereas the other side on Michigan State just bet it the one time. Now, is this a case where that the other guy who bet Michigan State is going to come back for more? Maybe. I mean, that's very, very possible, and you'll be able to tell by line movement what happens, whether someone comes back. I mean, it's really a great situation when two sharps love different sides and they both like it the same number. I mean, that's just a beautiful situation.
That's really rare.
Okay,
I mean,
it's not all that common at all.
Yeah. Usually when you tell us about two-way action, it's one sharp taking the best line of one side and then another sharp coming back the other way, a few days later, getting a much better line on the other side. Right, Brent?
Yeah, that happens frequently. And then in a case like that, it'll be a situation where someone just says, my number on Michigan State is 3.5.
Right.
They hit 3.5, I'm gonna hit that. Whereas another guy will say, if I get anything above 4.5 on whiskey, I'm taking it. So this is just a situation where guys have their own numbers and they're like, okay, if the number hits this, I'm gonna bet it.
Yeah.
And they also have, in terms of managing the bankroll, they say how many units do I want on this game? If I can get 3 units on the game, I'll take it. The other guy might say, well, if I can get 2, I'll take that as well. It's kind of a degree of how much you'd like it, and it's also a case of managing your bankroll. To address this, what you talked about in terms of the public, you're bang on in terms of the Michigan State money being public money. My wager count is it's dead on, like 3-1 in favor of Michigan State. And when I get to parlays and teasers, it's almost 4-1. So just straight bets. 3-1 in favor of Michigan State. So again, I did have a sharp who hit Wisconsin much heavier than the sharp that came in on Michigan State. So we're kind of sitting at the 4 as it is, knowing that I'm still probably going to get more public money on Michigan State. If that line crept up a little bit, it's probably because just public money driving it. If it goes back, you can be sure that a sharp took Wisconsin again. Right.
Any chance this one closes at like 3 or 2.5 or something like that?
I mean, there's always a chance, Peter. Right. I mean, if you take the rubber band off your bankroll, boom, watch us move.
That's right. All right, Brent, the next thing I want to ask about, a very interesting one, Louisville-Marshall. Now, last week you told us the Sharps were all over Louisville. That was obviously a huge, huge winner. You also told us the Sharps were all over Marshall, and that was obviously a huge, massive loser. So whichever Sharps were on Marshall, I don't know, maybe we want to question their sharpness or maybe not. I have to assume that the public loves Louisville here, even as a massive favorite. And as far as the Sharps, I don't know. I'm guessing that there might have been early sharp action at -24 on Louisville. What can you tell us about Louisville-Marshall?
Yeah, there was early sharp action on Louisville at actually
There you
25 is where it came in here. But we did tip it all the way up to 27.5 and got what I would call sharp money back on the other side on Marshall, 27.5. So it's a situation where you talk about sharps being all about the number, and that's certainly a situation where it was with Louisville Marshall this week. Louisville right now we're sitting 27. They've been bouncing like 27 dog 15, 27 flat, basically back and forth. And again, I've got about 3 times as many bets in favor of Louisville just looking at my straight bets. And when I take into account parties and teasers, it's about 6-1 in favor of Louisville. So the public definitely favors Louisville, and I mean they look so damn good. Maybe they're in a situation where we might have a letdown. Who knows? But the Sharps pounded them last week. I think when we did the show, they were taking like 2.5, 1.5 on Louisville. That line closed all the way to 1.5. So it's really, I mean, that's a good example if we can step back to last week and just look at the Florida State Louisville game, because if you see, when we talk about the Sharps liking Louisville as much as they did, and they were like 2.5 and 1.5 and taking, and that line basically closed Louisville as a favorite of -2.5. So you're sitting back, if you're watching the line movement, you can feel pretty comfortable that you're getting a lot of sharp money on the one side. It's not a case of it getting beat back and forth. If you want to, the opposite of that would have been a situation with was it Kansas City and Houston last week
in the NFL,
Sharps
right?
in the NFL, when the Sharps were liking Houston early in the week, Kansas City early in the week, and then they got down to like 1 and 1.5, and they just beat the heck out of that number back and forth, so it didn't move any further. And there was some money on the favorite Houston as well, but the line didn't go back up because they were just beating the heck out of each other. This Louisville Florida State last week is a case where they just absolutely love Louisville over Florida State. Public love Florida State a little bit more. So just looking back at kind of line movement and trying to, if you're sitting there trying to figure out what's moving stuff, that was a great example of a situation where if you said, well, I got to lay 2 or 2.5 at Louisville now, but I can feel real confident that that's the right side.
Right, and you said that you did get sharp action on Marshall at +27.5. Was that just sort of like a token bet when the line crept up that high, or was that like a strong, confident sharp action the other way?
That was a max bet the other way, so that I would say that's a confident bet. Yeah, when someone bets less than the max, you kind of think, well, maybe they're just like, I'm not crazy about the team, but I really like the number.
All right, and then the next game I want to ask you about, Florida State and South Florida. And this line opened at Florida State -6. When I first looked at it, I said to myself, man, this one has sharp public split written all over it on the opening number. And now with the line moved down to 4.5 or 5, I'm thinking even stronger that's got to be the case. The Sharps faded Florida State as a road favorite last week, big time, as you just told us. Are they doing it again here with South Florida?
Yeah, they're very much in favor of South Florida. The Sharps are, for sure. Sharps being Sharps, they got South Florida +7, so that number's very much shot. But we are sitting between 4.5 and 5. That number's bouncing kind of back and forth between those two spots. Looking at my wager count though, I mean it's talk about a sharp public split. My wager count is 10-1 on straight bets in favor of Florida State.
My God!
That's
wow.
Exactly. That's for a college game, it doesn't really get any bigger than that. So
I mean, you figure there's enough public bettors who just went to the University of South Florida to get the percentage a little higher than that, right?
Yeah, I guess they just haven't dug deep yet. Or, I mean, it could be honestly a situation, at least with sharp guys, where they kind of the value shot in terms of them betting on South Florida. So it could be a situation where this number creeps up based on public money. Again, to count 10-1 just straight bets in favor of Florida State. My money, I have more money on South Florida. So if you want to know how deep the pockets are of the sharp guys, that gives you an indication. 10-1 in favor of Florida State. Still more money on South Florida.
All right, boys, there you have it. Huge sharp public split on Florida State, South Florida, just like I thought we would see when the opening line came out. All right, Brent, 3 interesting games. Thanks so much for breaking all that down for us. What else can you tell us about notable action from the round college football week 4?
This is kind of like last week where I just got a ton of stuff, so I'm just going to kind of fire through as best I can. First off, going top to bottom, is Central Florida. Sharp money on Central Florida -4.5. They're at Florida International. The line's up to 7 right now, so that's a definite sharp play there in terms of the line movement. You can tell the Sharps drove that from 4.5 all the way up to 7 right now. Syracuse is another sharp side. Syracuse is at Connecticut now. Connecticut was a favorite of 3.5 and even 4. Sharps grabbed Syracuse +4 and the +3.5 -115. So I got a couple of sharps on the Syracuse there. Again, they're at UConn. The line now is Connecticut -3 -105. Iowa, they are at Rutgers. Sharp money came in on Iowa minus 3. Again, minus 5, Peter.
I'm sorry?
Did you say something there? I thought maybe you were going to tell me that you grabbed
Yeah,
Rutgers.
no, I grabbed Rutgers at plus 14 early on the opener, and then it moved down to 13. So I assume that was some. I mean, why did the line move down to 13? I assume that was some early sharp action. But then when I saw it back up to 14.5, and now you're confirming that the sharps did come in Iowa.
Yeah, we're sitting at 14.5 right now. And again, sharp money was minus 13 and minus 13.5 on Iowa. They're on the road at Rutgers. Drop down to Georgia Southern, got a total play there. Georgia Southern is at Western Michigan. The total now, we're up to 54. I had sharper money on the over, actually, over 53 there, so that's where we are now. We talked about the Louisville kind of going back and forth. We talked about Wisconsin there. Oh, Western Kentucky. I didn't want to forget Western Kentucky. Sharp money came in on Western Kentucky. They were minus 7. They're at home to Vanderbilt. So Western Kentucky minus 7. Line is up to 8 right now. A total play, we talked about the Wisconsin-Michigan State. A total play there, sharps on the under. They came in on under 45 and under 44. Total is like 41 right now. If I look at my wager count, it's almost dead even. So I've had just public bettors coming in on the over, which is always good. They tend to bet over, so it's a good situation there. In that I do have sharp bettors on the under and public on the over. So if we need the under, we're kind of in a good spot. And it looks like the public is voicing their opinion to go over, which is no surprise. Purdue at home to Nevada, kind of an odd matchup. I mean, how many times do Nevada and Purdue ever play each other? I don't know, but Purdue minus 3 was sharp. Line's all the way up to 5.5 right now, so a lot of money on Purdue.
That one I nailed, Brent. In my opening line show on Monday, the line was already at 4, but I gave that one as a top play at minus 4.
Well, Peter, even you, if you throw enough darts on the board, you're going to hit one every now and then, right?
I'm just fishing for compliments. All right, carry on, Brent. Thanks so much.
There you go. Miami, Ohio at Cincinnati. Total there is 56 right now. Sharp money came under 58.5. Florida at Tennessee. Big line movement there. Sharps grabbed Florida plus 7.5. Line is 4.5 right now. So Florida at Tennessee plus 7.5 was sharp. Memphis and Bowling Green. Memphis was a sharp side at minus 16.5. And the total as well, the over 63. Big movement on the total there. Memphis, Bowling Green. Over 63 was a sharp bet, and they're up to 68 right now on the total. South Florida we touched on. And Houston, I just want to touch on the total. I got public money all on the over. We're at 65 right now, but sharp action came in on the under 66.5.
And that's it, Brent?
That is.
Okay, thanks so much. As always, Brent, we'll talk to you again next week for College Football Week 5.
Thank you, Peter.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts and shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.